ready? Think you can tell us what to do? Think you can tell us where? You think that you're better? Well, you better get ready. Bow to the master. Get ready to...
Are now locked inside Ringsiders. MMA, wrestling, and boxing. Every Sunday from 5 to 7 p.m. right here on the #1 underground radio station on the planet, PartyAnimalRadio.com. And now, for the Grand Master, Ben Simon.
Hello, welcome to PartyAnimalRadio.com. It's Ringsiders. Ben Simon with Mikey G, the Ringmaster, and Drew Abs here for another Sunday edition of the best internet wrestling radio show out there. Of course, they all say that, so we'll have to prove it today. Guys?
And we're going to be doing the play-by-play.
We will be doing the play-by-play.
So ready for that.
We will be at ringside. I'll be doing the announcing. Drew Abs and Mikey G at ringside calling the action for PartyAnimalRadio.com. And, of course, I guess I'll join you in between for the matches as well. Should be a really good time. I'm looking forward to it. And I hear that the venue has decent beers, so
oh yeah,
should be a good time.
Drew Abs in the house.
I think this next one is over at the River City's Edge thing. That's
yeah, this one's at the River's Edge.
Oh, this is the one with no alcohol.
That is bring your own beer,
which is better because then
it
can be the best alcohol you want.
Now this is very interesting.
BYOB.
This is very interesting because St. Louis Anarchy was not going to be running at that venue anymore.
Right.
But somehow they reconciled.
Just like a bad girlfriend with good sex, you always go back.
Yep.
Awesome.
There might be some. We are live on PartyAnimalRadio.com right now. On Friday, we are taping the show for Sunday. And for the listeners that are tuning in to the Mr. Late Night Show right now, it is not airing today. It is not. Ringsiders is airing live right now on PartyAnimalRadio.com.
Sorry, we're playing with your mind there.
Right. You can tune into the Mr. Late Night Show live on Tuesday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And it airs on PartyAnimalRadio.com, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Tuesday through Friday. So
that's what's up. And let me just say before I forget, that DX NWO music, I've never heard that before. That's awesome.
What?
Thank
that
you.
sucked.
And
you don't like it?
I've heard better mashups, but after a while I was like, ugh.
I mean, they were trying to match beats throughout, you know. So like, it only took them a couple rounds though. I like it. I'm on a mashup kick on the big show. I play nothing but mashups now. You know, and now here on Ringsiders, I think that's one thing that's going to keep us unique is that our music will all be wrestling mashups. I got a pretty cool one with Kurt Angle here in a little bit.
Sweet.
So, really excited about that. I mean, since it is Friday, and we are kind of talking about what is or what happened out throughout the weekend. I am on my way down to Shine Wrestling tonight down in Tampa. So, hope to be getting some good interviews for us to use at a later date.
Very cool.
So,
we're some of Shine's top guys at the moment.
Girls, all women.
All women.
Was that a joke, Drew?
Maybe an inadvertent.
I didn't think he meant it to be a joke, but it was pretty freaking funny.
Fair enough.
I don't know if I'd be comfortable wrestling for a company named Shine if I was a dude. I mean, I don't know.
Shine!
You say it like that, I definitely would be cool with it.
Starring Johnny Courageous and Friends. That's their TV show.
Their roster would fill up immediately. Anyway.
That's a whole other story, though.
And next.
All right, Drew's News.
Drew's News in the house. Let's start with some wrestling news. TNA Impact. They are going to be staying live through the end of 2012. Originally, this was an experiment they were just going to do for the summer and through Bound for Glory. I guess they like it. They're doing it for the rest of the year, and they're going to check it out then. That's cool.
I like that. You know, it's not much of a different feel, but it's still the notion that it's live, anything can happen. Live
TV adds a small little element of what you're watching, because anything can happen. Anything's probably not going to happen, but it can. So it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Next up, we've got Chris Nowinski. He's got a...
He's still around?
Chris Nowinski's doing a lot of good work right now.
I know that's good.
And he's got a documentary that they made. It's called Head Games. It's based off of, I think, his book. But anyway, this is going to be available. What's the date right now?
The 21st.
21st.
Well, when this airs, it's going to, again, this is going to be the 23rd.
Dig it. Well, then, if you're listening now or then, this is available on video on demand. It's on iTunes. It's on Amazon. It's on DirecTV and Charter if you've got it. It's just talking about what Chris Nowinski's doing nowadays and how all of that stuff is bad business. The dude says he needs a GPS to drive around anywhere. If he exercises, he gets headaches and is nauseous. You know, he has to take medication or else he can't think right. So he's doing a lot of work in concussion work and just brain.
How much of it do you think it's 100% real, or do you think he's fabricating a little? Your personal opinion.
That's a good question. I don't think he has any reason to make this shit up, but this is now his living. So, I don't know, amping up, you know.
I've just always been skeptical of something that you can't disprove or prove one way or the other.
Well, that's what they're working on. Chris Nowinski's the guy who's trying to get permission from everybody to examine brains when they pass away.
Right.
He's signed up to his own brain.
There's a truck coming through the studio. If you guys didn't
That's
know.
right. Crazy. But, you know, Chris Nowinski's doing good stuff. What they're studying, it's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE.
Anything with chronic, I'm down.
Right. So
the Chris Benoit syndrome.
Yeah. They're working this out, and it's just repeated brain traumas can really end up causing horrible stuff going on in your brain that makes people act crazy, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. And Chris Nowinski's doing a lot of work for that. So props to him. If you want to watch his movie, check it out. Head Games. It's on demand.
And this isn't something that just affects pro wrestlers. This is, I mean, in the world of
Sports
American
wide.
football,
Yeah, absolutely.
The helmet situation is crazy, and everybody's having brain injuries. So leading the charge in the war against brain injuries is Chris Nowinski, the Harvard grad. So props to him.
I mean, he's taking his Harvard graduate status and really riding it out. If the WWE thing didn't work out.
Yeah. And I was on his train, man. I think that dude would have been a world champ if he would have stuck around. I think they loved that he was a Harvard guy. He was athletic. He could talk. It's a shame that his wrestling career got derided, but at least he's making positive stuff out of it now.
Yeah, they're like the WWE really takes advantage of what your past was. You know, David Otunga, I think they have slowly been working him into being a main eventer. I thought that from day one. Why isn't this guy in the main event? Why isn't what's the flippy guy?
Justin Gabriel.
Yeah. Why isn't he a champion? It's good to see them slowly build these guys, and I really do think you're right. If Chris Nowinski would have stuck around, he would have been a WWE champion for sure.
Yep.
He had the look and everything.
Yeah, no doubt. But good for him. So he's doing something. Next up, we've got apparently WWE and All Japan Pro Wrestling have come to some kind of an agreement to form some sort of an alliance of some kind. Nobody really knows what it is yet because it's new. It is dangerous.
You think Paulie had anything to do with that?
Negative. They say actually, legit though. John Laurinaitis was the guy that was behind connecting these two sides and getting a deal together.
Well, wasn't that his job, like the talent guy over there before he came over here?
I'm not sure about that.
Ben Simon?
I don't think he was.
John Laurinaitis.
Johnny Ace.
I don't think he was. Was he a talent guy in Japan?
What?
No, he was a wrestler in Japan.
He didn't do like okay.
I don't
thought
think he had an office job.
No. Okay.
And he replaced Jim Ross as the EVP, as they say.
Right, but like, what was his credentials before? Like, they're like, oh, you're a wrestler. By the way, you can just jump right into Jim Ross.
He did a similar thing for WCW.
Yeah, okay, that's what I meant. Okay, it was WCW, not Japan.
Yeah. But he's had the ties for forever over there, and so maybe that'll lead to some talent exchanges. But we'll see.
I don't know. I noticed that JBL was really dropping a lot of Mexican references and Japanese references.
I really enjoyed listening to JBL on commentary on the pay-per-view and on Raw. He mentioned Japan. He mentioned AAA 7 or 8 times when Mystico Sin Cara was wrestling. Talked about Puerto Rico.
How widely known it was that Alberto Del Rio is the nephew of Mil Mascaras? I mean, is it just me? Because I didn't know that.
Well,
I think they talked about it a bit.
WWE acknowledged.
But it's been forever. They dropped it. They don't really talk about it.
Well, I know he introduced him to the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't hear it, so I was like, oh wow, I have much respect for JBL for. I don't know if that was him saying do that because nobody else allowed him to do that, or if they were like, hey, you should do that.
See,
either way.
If I had to guess, I would say that's all him because they don't do that there. That's not their announce style. Right. And, he knows that he was only there as a visitor, so he could pretty much do whatever he wants. What are they going to do, yell at him?
Right. So that's why it was funny. It was fun to listen to Mick Foley do commentary when he did a few years ago. Yeah. Because they knew that they were like, oh, we're just going to put you into this role. It's not like he was like Taz, like, oh, I'm trying to kiss everybody's ass because I know I'm not going to be a wrestler ever again. Because I'm 5'6".
They say that was part of the reason Mick Foley left back then and quit that job so soon is, he couldn't handle all the yelling and Vince McMahon being in your headset all the time. So, yeah, it is what it is. It's a tough job, commentary, but Bradshaw did a good job, I thought.
Great. It was stellar.
Yeah.
Stellar.
We got John Cena. He's out, man. He's who knows for how long. Him and the internet are saying different things, but he just had surgery on his elbow, had some bone chips removed and some different stuff. He says 6 to 8 weeks. Other people are saying no. Maybe they're just swerving you if Cena's going to come back sooner. But
so wait, what's the internet saying?
The internet.
WWE.com reported some stuff, and then Cena went, I think, on the Twitter and responded basically saying, you guys don't know what you're talking about. This is really what's up. And so there's just a dispute on the severity.
So who's saying what?
I think Cena says 6 to 8 weeks, and I think the internet was reporting.
Well, initially it was reported 4 to 6 weeks. Cena is out. He needs surgery. Okay, and then it was changed, and WWE.com said, well, maybe it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. John Cena responded via Twitter, I believe. Maybe it was a tout video. He said, listen, I don't know who's running WWE.com and who put that up, but it's 6 weeks in all caps. He said, and we'll be out 6 weeks. That is what the doctor has suggested, and that's what I'm going to do. And so that's good because, re-aggravated injuries heal even less right than the original injury. Excuse me. So 6 weeks it is.
But, I've been very surprised on how there's not been that many big injuries, in a few years.
UFC's taking care of that this year.
Right. Damn.
But the only reason I brought up the Cena thing is because they got the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view coming up here soon, and it looked like they were going to be doing CM Punk and Cena again, just based on how the last pay-per-view ended. But I guess they're going to maybe be doing something else. And that's cool because I would rather see something else.
I don't know. I've now, it's started to grow on me because of the continuity of how it's been the last, I guess this is the third year in a row. It's you kind of know what you're getting throughout the year. You're going to get so-and-so and so-and-so at WrestleMania. That's going to be built up for 2 or 3 months. Then you're going to get to see them again in different style matches. For the next couple pay-per-views. And it does, I don't know, some of it's kind of redundant. Maybe it's me just getting older, but I don't totally hate it. It's not, really, it's not super cheesy drama to me. Not all of it. I'm very surprised how I can sit through a 3-hour Raw, and I'm like, wow, I don't feel like I sat through a 3-hour Raw. It flows pretty well. Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
I think the 3-hour Raw is still to be determined. I'm still out on that.
Well,
Sometimes
3-hour Raw for us is the 2 hours and 15-minute Raw, since
That's
we
right.
we watch it on a delay. So
DVR all
Yeah.
day. But it's still, you know, I'm not sure. Sometimes it just depends on the show. Sometimes they drag. Sometimes it feels like it goes pretty quick. It just depends on what they're doing that day and the feuds that are going on. Really, at the time, have a lot to do.
Well, they've kept like these auxiliary feuds going. You know, like
oh, they have to.
Brodus Clay and Damian Sandow, and you know, like what's his name? The new genius Lonnie Poffo. What's his name?
Damien
Damian Sandow.
Sandow. It's like the same guy you just mentioned.
That's him, right? I did
Yeah.
get that
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
He wears a nice bat.
And by the way, that guy's awesome. Future champion. That dude's gonna be on for a long time. You heard it here.
Well, I think the 3-hour Raw is great. I like it. I don't see any problems with it.
I like 3-hour Nitros a little better, just because
Really?
they cared less on Nitro, so they would let guys just go into the ring for 15 or 20 minutes and
Do
do
some
whatever the
shit.
hell they wanted
Yeah.
to. So you ended up seeing some cool stuff.
I mean, regardless of what you think about the match lengths, I mean, I'm keeping track here. I mean, we average 9 to 10 matches on a regular Raw now, so
Really?
there is more wrestling.
That's good.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's great.
So
I mean, I don't feel like there were some 2-hour Raws where you're like, it's pay-per-view build-up. You get like 2, 3, maybe 4 matches. A couple of those, one of those matches is a woman's match. I mean, like,
So
and, you
that
know,
doesn't
and I'm not saying it doesn't count, but they're like 2, 3, 4-minute matches.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, oh, that was womp womp womp. You know, at least if there's that bullshit build-up now, you know, you get a whole nother hour where that hour's got to be filled with wrestling because you
sure.
can't fill more than an hour worth of promo bullshit, right?
You are correct. And you have noticed, I mean, on Raw, ever since they've expanded to 3 hours, not all the matches benefit because of it, but there's always at least one match on Raw that you can tell benefits from a lot of extra time and gets a chance to stand out. So
I mean, I'm excited about all the
cool.
main event guys that are like, you're like, wow, these guys are like Antonio Cesaro, going to be a freaking champion. Wade Barrett just came back. Who forgot about him? I mean, I did.
Wade Barrett's going to
You
be
know,
huge.
Damian Sandow, David Otunga. I mean, look at these guys that are like the next generation. Like, before that, it was like you had Cena and Orton, kind of. I mean, that...
And what's great about this generation coming up is it's filled with guys. All the guys we've mentioned are bigger dudes than usual. So you got bigger wrestlers coming back, but you've also got an influx of guys like Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose.
Dude, where the hell is he at?
They say it's anytime, but they've been saying that for a minute now.
What happened? He like peeked his nose up for a minute, and then they're like, "Oh no, sit back. We're gonna wait on you, big guy."
Everybody's frightened because he's gonna blow everybody out of the water and make everybody realize how much they suck.
This new age of wrestling, like I'm starting to get excited about wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, because you just see what is coming in the future.
If you take a look at this NXT website, they've really revamped this stuff since they've relocated to the Full Sail University. Like they're taking the developmental really, really seriously, and they're hiring people that are good business. So for a long time, it was Johnny Ace hiring lingerie models that he'd see in magazines, or just guys that were big and clumsy and couldn't do crap. All the big dudes that came in on his watch sucked. So it's a new time. Who knows how much of this is Triple H's hands getting on things?
I'd say a lot of it.
Tag teams seem to be coming back. So
Team
good.
friendship.
Team
tag
friendship,
Dude,
But,
best thing in wrestling right now.
but it's cool, man. It's stuff to be excited about. I think it's picking up.
Hey, Drew.
Yes, sir.
Do you know who the tag team champions are?
In WWE,
Yeah,
yeah, they like to hug. Yeah.
I am the tag team champion.
Oh, yeah. I disagree. I think I am the tag team champions.
No. I am the tag team champions.
And that's good. On that note,
I was wondering how far you're going to take that,
Yeah.
because I was going to go.
yeah, we're done with that already. This is a neat little thing. WWE Studios produced a movie called The Barricade. This Tuesday, coming up in 25 different cities, St. Louis is one of them. They're hiding DVDs all around the city, and if you follow The Barricade on Facebook or Twitter, they'll tell you where it is. You find the DVD, and you get a bunch of WWE merchandise and stuff. So if you care and you don't have anything to do on Tuesday, look at The Barricade on Twitter and on Facebook, and maybe you can find a DVD and win some swag. That's a neat little way of promoting it. It's a cool little thing. I won't be doing it, but it is what it is. It's cool, you know. That's neat. Let's switch it up to the MMA. What do we got?
Yes! 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 Yes!
I agree. You read my mind, sir. All right. Let's talk about some MMA for just a minute. Today we had Titan Fighting Championships in St. Louis. That has been postponed because of maybe the rain. That's too bad, but them's the breaks when you do an outside show. So
I was really looking forward to that too because I was planning on like sneaking us in there.
Yeah.
You know, Ringsiders.
It's cool, right? I like it. Well, can't do it. Rained out.
Right. Of account of the rain that might happen.
Yep. And now skies look okay. So. Anyway, Frank Mir. Frank Mir is injured. Frank Mir is out of the Frank Mir-Daniel Cormier fight that was going to be coming up in a couple weeks. That's what I said, speaking of MMA injuries earlier. They're dropping like flies, man. It's Daniel Cormier says that as far as he knows, he's still fighting on that date. They haven't told him anything different, but they haven't really said if they're going to try to find a replacement or just do something else.
Yes!
Yep.
Cormier's hit the glass ceiling that Gilbert Melendez has in regards to Strikeforce.
There's nothing to do there. They're treading water. They're just Gilbert Melendez, his next fight, his title defense is against Pat Healy.
Yes!
Yep.
Daniel Bryan likes that.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Yes! I think Drew's getting a little flustered with Daniel Bryan. Drew, are you getting flustered?
No.
Drew has
No.
a flustered face.
No.
Yes! Yes!
Can I move along, Daniel?
Yes!
Thank you. UFC 154. UFC hasn't announced it yet. They're going to make it official. It's GSP Carlos Condit. GSP. Yes, is right. This is far enough away that somebody's going to get hurt. Like, you don't even want to look forward to fights anymore because you're just waiting until that somebody's going to drop out. But if it happens, that's awesome. GSP's been out for a year and some.
I believe, it's been about a year.
ACL
stuff, but it'll be a cool fight, man.
Well, here's what I don't get. You know, like, is it? I don't think that there's any such thing as a coincidence in the world. Okay,
yeah.
You know, like I'm just thinking about this because I'm the outside the box thinker here on the show. So you know, like, didn't all the UFC fighters just get like full coverage insurance?
Yep.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm thinking maybe, you know, like, since there's been so many injuries here lately, maybe they're all like trying to, you know, claim a little bit of insurance and get some money. Yes. What do you think, Daniel Bryan? Yes. Okay. What do you guys think?
That's been talked about. I don't know. I think it has to do with guys are just being paid a little more, so they're not as hungry as they used to be and strapped for cash. The MMA guys are getting paid a little more. But the insurance thing is interesting. 2 years ago, if you would have hurt your shoulder or something a month before a fight, there's nothing you can do about it. You only got covered if through fight-related stuff, and so you would have to cover that on your own.
And you'd have to do the fight.
Yeah, and guys would have to go through with the fight because pulling out, they would lose all their money, and they had no insurance. And it's just, you know, it's something, you know, if you got a fight coming up in a month and a half, and you know you're not going to be at 100%, you can get it covered anyway. So why not? I don't really know. It's interesting stuff. I'm not sure. I saw an interesting thread on Sherdog.com. Somebody had some statistics, and just if you compare the amount of fighters to the injuries and stuff, it was, you know, the injuries aren't any worse now than they were 10 years ago. It just seems like it's just...
Really? Is it just like they've been plagued by the main event guys getting injured?
I don't know, man. 2012 has been a rough one on the injury tip. There's been a lot of fights that have fallen through, and, you know, it's just we were just talking about, was it UFC 152? They lost the main event and their co-main event.
151.
No, this
right.
the one in Brazil.
They canceled 151.
Oh, because 151 also lost their main features
because of an injury.
Yeah, excuse me.
And then 152 got all jacked up because of injuries and just stuff. They should just start doing surprise cards. Just announce
Like ECW.
Just like the week before Saturday, be like, "Here's what's up, man. Here's who's healthy. Here's who can fight."
I mean, seriously,
please buy our fist.
All you got to do is just tell them that like the heavyweight title will be on the line.
Yeah, you're good.
You know, right?
Who against who?
Well, I'm glad you guys aren't running things.
Well, okay, look at it like this. I mean, like all this bullshit that's been happening. What would be better? All this build up, and you have to cancel a card, or the week before you're like, all right, well, who's ready to fight? All you guys got to be ready, because this card we're doing heavyweights and light heavyweights, you know, or heavyweights and middleweights.
You guys realize
so everybody be ready.
This is the South Broadway way of booking, right?
This would probably make for a better TV show than for a pay-per-view structure.
I don't know. We're just thinking. We're thinking
outside the box, man.
Outside the box.
What's going on? And the last piece of Drew's news is the UFC color commentator and badass Joe Rogan has received his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from Jean-Jacques Machado of the famous Machado Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu family.
Machado?
Machado. That's a big
famous.
deal. And
I've heard of that name, though.
Yeah, there's lots of them.
There's lots of them.
There's lots of them. They're like the Gracies, except not the Gracies. But cool stuff for Joe Rogan. So he's a badass. There's a lot of cool videos on YouTube if you just want to see how like Joe Rogan knows his shit and is not to be fucked with. There's a cool video of him actually showing GSP how to do this really cool spinning taekwondo kick on a bag, and like GSP's like, wow, nobody's ever showed me that before. It's just crazy stuff. You don't think of Joe Rogan as somebody that could actually teach
He's
UFC
a badass
champion something, but he knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about. So props to Joe for the black belt. Good job.
Hell yeah. Well, guys, there's a serene moment that I wanted to add to the playlist here on the show. You know, I kind of wanted to get my feelings out there, so the listeners kind of know what I'm feeling, so you guys kind of know what I'm feeling. And I had a quick message I wanted to play for you guys.
Fuck you, and fuck your business, and fuck your room. You are a fucking piece of shit. You bothering me. I'm sick. Don't bother me, okay? I never did that. Nothing in your room, and you bothering me.
Oh, fuck me. Fuck me. Oh, that's great.
We'll be right back here on Ringsiders. we are back on Ringsiders. What'd you guys think of that Kurt Angle Brock Lesnar mashup?
It was better.
I like the first one better.
I like that one better.
Daniel Bryan, what did you think about it?
No!
What a dick.
I agree. I say yes.
Mike, I have to say something.
Daniel Bryan, do you know that you're a dickhead?
No!
Yes, you are.
No!
What? Quit being a whiny little bitch. Daniel Bryan, you're being a whiny little bitch right now.
No! No! No!
What?
No!
Come on.
No! No! No!
All right, you're going to sit in the corner, you little bitch. You little goat-faced bitch.
Before the...
We're good.
Are we? I'm not sure. Before the break... What, you're gonna turn
No,
on?
I'm not. I'm
Okay.
just setting up clips now.
Before the break, you played one of the greatest things that's ever aired on the show, I think. I've always wanted to hear the Iron Sheik bitch and moan next to a serene waterfall. Like I'm encountering him in the forest, you know, on a brisk morning.
You should sell that as like a relaxation DVD. You always hear like the Japanese water trickling on the side.
Yeah.
It's like, let me tell you how you deal with your problems. You humble them fuckers, and then he just goes on a thing that's...
Don Gable, he was a real wrestler, not the
You
Hulk
can
Hogan.
listen to it as you fall asleep at night.
Humble
It'll
the
be
Hulk
great.
Hogan.
Did
Iron Sheik
that
sings
it?
the lullabies.
The
That'd be
funniest picture I've ever seen in my life is in the middle of Madison Square Garden, Iron Sheik standing over Hulk Hogan, boner, just fucking popping out, pitching a tent in the middle of his little wrestling
I
trunks.
don't know if that was a boner. It looked like it may have been out of context if the photo... I mean, if you just look at
You've seen it before,
I've
right?
seen the video, and it doesn't look like anything unusual.
You've seen the video?
I think the guy's just packing.
Let's move
the
on.
guy's just packing.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
mean, I don't think it's a boner.
You boner studiers.
Hey, you know,
Hey, I'm a pecker checker.
I'm refuting the boner. Anyway, no one's ever said that before. Anyway, guys, Mikey, you came up with a really awesome idea for this week's show. The top 5 biggest atrocities in pro wrestling history. Is that right?
That's right.
The history, I mean, we have like 100 years of pro wrestling. This is going to be a lot of atrocities here. And we all have our own lists. I mean, we've done the top 5 before, the top 5 indie wrestlers. I love doing that. So, I mean, you guys have your list already? Because I have my
Good to
list.
go.
Maybe this is a little bit doctored.
This was a quickly formulated thing, too. This was a list.
Oh, I'm looking at the Iron Sheik, sorry.
What
Two
I'm
or
looking at the
three.
Iron Sheik.
I was like, what's doctor?
Fair enough. But,
Sorry.
He's really studying this.
I'm a pecker checker, I told you.
All right. Ringsiders top 5. We're counting down. We're going to go around the table. Everyone gives their 5s and their 4s and so on and so forth. And then the biggest one is number 1. The top 5 biggest atrocities in wrestling history. You're going to hear 15 of them. Maybe we'll have some overlap. I don't know. Guys, who wants to go first? You want me to go first?
take it away.
Go first.
All right. The Attitude Era was one of the most enjoyable eras in pro wrestling, and if you ask anybody our age, they would say it is the best. And when the Attitude Era concluded, it was the end of the Monday Night War. WCW gets bought out. No more reason to be cutting edge. You're coasting. You're the monopoly that WWF. It's on top of the world. But there's one incident that truly was an atrocity in pro wrestling, and I'm talking about WrestleMania 17. Austin versus Rock. In the main event, Vince McMahon, longtime foe of Steve Austin, comes down to ringside and helps him win the match. He screws over The Rock. And actually, for the second year in a row, he screwed over The Rock. And then at the end of the event, he joins forces with Steve Austin. Steve Austin sells out for the victory at WrestleMania 17, telling everybody, all of the fans who have watched the previous 4 years, fuck you. Steve Austin and Vince McMahon, no longer foes. They're buddies, so you can quit watching now. Biggest atrocity, my number 5, WrestleMania 17.
That's a good one.
Interesting.
You want me to go?
Shoot.
Okay. Number 5 on my list. Definitely one of the most monumental side steps in professional wrestling history was a little small promotion out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, known as first Eastern Championship Wrestling, then Extreme Championship Wrestling. Well, that promotion's heyday was about from 90 93, 91, 93, somewhere in there, to 2001. So let's say at best 10 years it existed. Well, it's been dead now for over 11, and you still have these idiots chanting ECW, 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 and a bunch of, the only person that, should ever have gotten those after the promotion was done was Paulie, the guy, supposedly the brainchild. From what I understand, not the money backer of the promotion, but the brainchild, Paulie, gets those chances. That's fine. But you still have these idiot fans chanting ECW, ECW. Retarded to me. So the biggest atrocities in wrestling, the ECW fans that just can't let go.
I agree with that.
Yeah, there's something to be said for, people hanging on to, the ECW did something right,
It did something right if it's hanging on to people now. But
it was a crazy culture that, there's wrestlers. I mean, look at guys like Shane Douglas, the Blue Meanie, and, these guys that...
Terry Funk, Dory Funk.
There's a lot of grown men that were a part of that are still... That's all... I mean, look at Shane Douglas still running around at Raw trying to...
That was sad.
Rile up, what did he get, 10 people to chant along with him that knew what he was doing? Who's this old guy and these nerds, and what are they doing here?
Who's that fat guy that kind of looks like Shane Douglas? Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, now he's fat.
Fat old
it
Shane
wouldn't be
Douglas.
half as sad if he wasn't fat now, That just makes it sadder.
Crazy.
All right,
But,
Drew, what's your number 5?
We're going to kick it off with our old friend. Her name makes an appearance every now and again on television. She's not totally forgotten. We're talking about our buddy Kane's ex-girlfriend, who was tragically murdered in a horrible car accident.
How is that not higher on your list?
It's just it's Katie Vick. It's you laugh at it. It's like Mae Young and her son, The Hand. Now you just laugh.
He's grown up.
Yeah, so it is what it is. And now, since so much time has passed, I guess I can kind of look back on it and laugh a little bit. But just like who. They say that that was all Vince McMahon. Like Triple H has been asked about that. He's like, look, Vince thought that was hilarious. And the punchline, oh my God, I screwed her brains out. Vince thought that was like the funniest thing he's ever come up with, man. And
Does he still to this day?
Vince is a weird guy. I was just reading a thing where he had an idea for this, the Kane movie, See No Evil.
Yeah.
Jacob Goodnight, Kane's character. Vince wanted to add a scene where Jacob Goodnight pulls out his penis, and he has a 3-foot-long penis. This is the director of the movie has talked about this since then. And he's like, he was calling people. He's like, look, Vince wants to have a 3-foot penis in this movie. And no one is telling him no, and no one is stopping me, and I need help. Somebody's got to do something.
Nobody's telling him no.
Right, and no one is stopping him.
Yep.
And eventually, the powers that be put the kibosh on that. So,
how many people do you think actually have the balls to tell him no?
Nobody. He just surrounds himself with his bubble of a couple of people that, he's
Who tells him no? Who tells him no?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Triple H, maybe?
I think that's about it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. His daughter, but she seems like just, oh, yeah, Daddy, that sounds good. Because he taught her everything she knows, so, I mean, she's not going to.
He's not going to let the student outsmart the teacher on that one.
Right. It would be his friends that would tell him no. The guys like the Kevin Nashes and, those kind of guys. Vince is a weird guy. There's a rumor that one time in a meeting, he shit his pants on purpose and, was chasing Jerry Briscoe around the room because Jerry Briscoe was just disgusted by all of this. I don't know what led to it, but Vince is just there's not a lot of human beings like that guy. So, it's a true story.
Number 4, Vince shitting his pants
and chasing Jerry Briscoe around the room.
Ben Simon, what's your number 4?
All right. By the way, Drew, what was your number 5 again?
It was the Katie Vick.
Okay,
It was
we
what
got
started
a
all
little
that.
off there.
Right.
Which,
Well,
Fucking
it was
the
just-
brains to
by the
shit in
way,
their pants.
from a kayfabe standpoint, Triple H tries to make Kane look bad by screwing a mannequin dressed up like Kane. I think that just makes Triple H look bad. Anyway, my number 4. We're going way back to 1932. A man named Jack Pfeffer. All right.
Take me to school, Ben.
All right. And we are
And that
off
is-
the air.
No, we're going. Keep going.
All right. Well,
Just
maybe,
can't hear.
oh, okay. Oh, all right. The headphones just went out. You'll have to pardon me. 1932. There was a man named Jack Pfeffer. He was a promoter out of the Chicago area. And Mr. Jack Pfeffer, he was in on everything. You know, pro wrestling had been fixed for about... Sorry, I was really loud there. I couldn't hear myself. Pro wrestling had been fixed for about 24 years, okay, give or take a little bit. And so he gets into this promotional deal with Jim Londos, and he leaves Jack Curley, who's another promoter. Basically, there's an alliance of promoters. Think of the forerunner to the National Wrestling Alliance. And all of a sudden, these guys get together, and Jack Pfeffer gets ousted from the group because he hasn't been loyal to all of them. Anyway, so Jack Pfeffer gets angry. He gets a little boozy one night, and he calls the New York Daily Mirror, and he talks to the sports editor, and he says, "Listen, buddy, I've got a big story for you. You know, this wrestling, you know, a lot of people are throwing these matches. Well, actually, they're all fixed." And, like, everyone's like, "Oh, my God." And the New York Daily Mirror runs this big expose on all the inner workings of pro wrestling. This is a big deal in 1932. But it goes to show you, first of all, this is an atrocity. The atrocity, if we were doing the show in 1932, would be that pro wrestling is fixed. The atrocity now, looking back, is that Jack Pfeffer exposed the business after being ousted. And it really shows the very fragile nature of how everything went. But the thing is, pro wrestling fixed for 25 years beforehand, and no one was completely sure that it was. That was the art.
I mean, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There are people that still aren't completely sure that it is.
That's very true.
My number 4, biggest atrocity in wrestling history, Jack Pfeffer getting drunk and calling the New York Daily Mirror.
Son of a bitch, Jack Pfeffer.
Fucking Pfeffer.
Is that pretty much his legacy now?
Yeah.
What is he known for?
Well, later on in his career as a promoter, he also started booking wrestlers with names similar to the big names like Bummy Rogers and Hobo Brazil. So that really gained him legitimacy.
It's like CM Monk.
Yeah.
Good
Or
time.
CP Monk. Yeah, exactly.
Or Hulk Hogan.
Does that exist?
No. Somebody told me that I look like Seth Rogen and Hulk Hogan combined.
That also sounds like
Hulk
something
Hogan.
you hear about on Scooby-Doo.
Right. My number 4 and my number 3 are similar in who was involved, and one of the key culprits involved in my number 3 and 4. I'm just going to do my number 4 right now. WrestleMania 9, and how Hogan came in and beat Yokozuna in like 9 seconds.
Stealing the Thunder.
Stealing the Thunder.
Man.
That was whack.
That was totally whack.
Even watching it now, it's still whack.
But I mean, like, what was the deal there? Like, Hogan, they wanted to put the belt back on Hogan. Bret Hart wouldn't lose clean to him. I mean, what was the deal?
I mean, I can't remember. It's been a while since I read Bret Hart's book, but according to Hart, it was all Hulk Hogan positioning himself to steal the show, exactly what we saw. And he wasn't even booked in the main event at all. He was in a tag team match with Beefcake versus Money Inc.
Money Inc., yep.
And he worked his way in the main event, politics, and for the eighth out of 9 years, he was in the main event at WrestleMania. Woohoo, Hogan.
And that was a sad-looking Hogan. That was the Hogan with the black eye. And that's the Hogan
He was
who
skinny,
just dropped the steroids.
Right.
So he was, like, really thin and sick-looking.
He had a jet ski accident, like, the weekend before, and his,
like,
head was split open.
Comparatively to Hogan before, yeah, he looks sickly. But, I mean, still, he's a big dude, you know. But
He was just weird looking.
he was a regular-looking big dude.
The regular Hogan.
Right. Real Hulk Hogan. So, yeah, my number 4, WrestleMania 9, Hulk Hogan stealing the show with a bullshit win for the title.
Bunk.
Right.
Word.
What's yours, Drew?
Number 4. My number 4 atrocity is going to be the period from about 1994 through about early 96 or so, just for the whole wrestling business in general, WWF specifically. That's when you saw the Mantars and the Max
Sparky Plug.
Moons and just all the weird characters that showed up and would disappear shortly after that. I mean, that's where you got your Bastion Boogers, your what was it? Duke DeRossi and just Duke the Dumpster DeRossi and all these wacky characters that, this is just a couple of years after, wrestling was still pretty fun. So what a crazy turn and downfall, and just what a horrible thing. And on WCW's end, Hogan came over and immediately took over. Ric Flair started jobbing to Hogan from day one. Hogan shows up and is the top guy in WCW, and Hacksaw Duggan and the Nasty Boys and Earthquake and all these guys show up, and just a weird time for wrestling, and it was not great. But I guess looking back, it kind of set the stage for everything that happened in 97, 98. So
thankfully,
it sucked to come back to be cool for a minute.
You know what? Yeah, that was the dip. That was the dip before it kicked ass. In '96, thankfully, things improved. The new generation on both sides, WCW and WWF, and then it got good. So, all right, my number 4.
Number 3.
Yep.
My
number 3.
My number 3. Sorry. My number 3. Let's go back to the 1950s. And this is a lesson.
Of course we are.
I
love how we were putting it together, like in the last 10 minutes before the show, and we're like, Ben's like, "Oh, let's do it later in the show." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because this is the history. I have to get the history of wrestling."
Well, when you say the biggest atrocities in the history,
I was really more just talking like our lifetime, but you're like, no, we're doing the history. I got to get the history. Going back to the 30s, before the Great Depression. Holy shit.
Okay, so here's
Actually, when did that happen? 32? That was right before the GD. So
yeah,
you think
right
that
before.
caused Black Friday?
Business and wrestling went down. That is
like,
the entire reason why the Depression happened.
The economy crashes. I mean, that's kind of what happened, at the end of the 2000s. Wrestling started getting shitty again, and then the economy crashed. Maybe we could look back and trace the patterns throughout history of when the economy goes bad, where the wrestling business was a year before that.
Well,
so if that's true, I'm going to be rich.
Yeah, man. We need to get this stuff out and compare stock market movement to pro wrestling box office.
A year before it.
Right.
Because it seems that how wrestling business goes is a precursor. But yeah, sorry, number 3.
My number 3, we're going back to the 1950s. Now,
history.
You'll notice in this story there are a lot of parallels to what has happened today and maybe about 10 years ago. Now, in the 1950s, Lou Thesz had just unified all of the world championships. He was the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. He and Sam Muchnick were like this. They were no longer competing.
They were like that?
Yeah, they were like two fingers intertwined. They were like that, man.
All right.
They were close because they had been competing before. A lot of people don't realize that Thesz was a promoter and he was going head-to-head with Muchnick. So they're a part of the alliance. They're all together based out of St. Louis. And they feel like, maybe we could ramp up business a little bit. What do we need? We have one world champion. We have a junior heavyweight world champion. Let's have 2 world heavyweight champions. That's right. The NWA, a lot of people don't know this, had 2 heavyweight champions of the world in the 50s. They recognized 2. Here's how it happened. Lou Thesz fought this guy named Leo the Lion Nomalini, a guy you only hear about on wrestling websites and history books.
Leo the Lion.
Leo the Lion.
He's a mobster from New York.
Sounds like it.
He
might have been.
Lion.
His son has been working with ICP, Lama Namanumi.
Oh, God damn I thought you were serious for a second. I was like, really? Wow, okay. Didn't know that.
Knew me.
So they have this match, and it ends up with, as a schmaz, as Bret Hart would say, and it ends up with these two guys carrying championships on two different parts of the country, and they would tour. The basis behind this was, remember, there was no internet back then, there wasn't a national TV deal, and news traveled slowly. So you could have more world championship defenses at any given time. You could have 2 world championship matches on the same night, different parts of the country, 2 different champions.
Double your pleasure, double your fun.
Exactly. But it backfired.
2 champions in the NWA get it done.
Exactly. And this is the only time the NWA's had 2 champions at the same time. Now, it didn't work out, and business plummeted because people knew what they were seeing was just half of the championship. And everyone knew Thesz was the man anyway, and in a real fight, Thesz would take his ass any day of the week. I'm talking about Namalini. So, eventually, the titles were reunified because it was a business disaster, and I think this parallels what we want to see today, the WWE and World Heavyweight titles reunified, because it needs to happen, and there's no reason for them to be separate. That's my biggest atrocity, number 3 in wrestling history. Yes! Thank you.
Number 3 over here, similar to my number 4, deals with a bullshit finish in a match that kind of changed my perception on things. In I don't know when, this might have been 1999, I think it was. Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, the finger pin.
No, the Fingerpoke of Doom.
The Fingerpoke of Doom.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my number 3. Similar to my number 4, which was Hogan going over for a title in a bullshit way at the end of a show. I mean, this one had a little bit of a build-up. You know, like, ooh, Hogan Nash, and then they come out, boom, Fingerpoke of Doom.
Well,
it was just, it felt cheap.
And that's what, I guess that was kind of the resolution to the Wolfpack and the black and white, because it was still, Nash was still doing the Wolfpack thing,
yeah.
And then Hogan was on the black and white leading the Goof Troop, and then that was the end of that. It was a bummer.
A unification, I guess.
It was a reunification.
Yeah, and it made their WCW title belt look like garbage, and it was a prop that was held in the auspices of a faction and not a person, and I stopped following it at that point.
Interesting. I didn't hate it that much when it happened. It was just, I don't know, it's just one more goofy-ass thing that's been done in wrestling, but I don't know. People point to that now, and looking back, that might be one of the main. That's one of the main things that's talked about when the downfall of WCW. So that was probably dumber than they.
There were a lot of things building up to that. If that didn't happen, the downfall still would have happened.
The train was going off the tracks no matter what.
Right. It was just like, oh, right then, everybody was like, oh yeah, that's womp womp.
That was unfortunate. And I think that was the same night Foley won his belt. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that right?
And you want to know the true story? In real time, I didn't see the Fingerpoke of Doom because moments before, the commercial break before, Tony Schiavone told me to turn to Raw. Mankind was going to win, and I was like, oh my God.
Sweet. Let's go
and
watch that instead.
And the fight, and after Raw was over, I immediately switched it back to Nitro to see if I could catch the end of it. And it was too late. That's how a lot of people did it back then, because Raw had to end on time, and Nitro did a little bit overrun, because Bischoff wanted to upend Raw. And that night, man, they blew it. That was history-making, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome. So, yeah, my number 3, the Fingerpoke of Doom.
Fingerpoke of Doom. Well, we're talking about dumb WCW shit, so that's a good segue to my number 3.
All right. Now, in the biggest atrocities in wrestling history is what we're doing here on Ringsiders. We thank you for joining us. All right, Drew, what's up next for you?
Dig it. It's a guy that, it seems like a friendly fellow, but we're talking about the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. We're talking about that title.
Wow.
Let's talk about the great actor, David Arquette.
How is that not higher on your list?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Are you serious?
No, there's so many atrocities.
Oh, that's way high on my list. That's that. Never mind.
That's a tricky one. David Arquette, in his defense, he said, "Are you all crazy? I don't want to do that." And David Arquette donated all the money he got from that little run to the family of Flying Brian Pillman, to the wife and the daughters and stuff. So he gave away all the money that he got from that, and he didn't want it in the first place. So don't hate David Arquette. He's a big wrestling fan. That was a DDP thing. Vince Russo gets blamed for that a lot, but that was all DDP and Eric Bischoff. That was their idea
because of the movie.
Because of the movie.
They wanted to sell VHS tapes, and he got the title, so they could do that.
There it is.
Great.
But would like to think there would have been.
There's a job for those guys down at South Broadway booking.
That's good times. You know, I don't know. Like, you can see for a second where, you know, the idea of doing that would get mainstream press and would get them a snippet on, you know, little things to promote the movie, but it got them snippets and it got them attention for being ridiculous and
right.
known as a joke. So, thumbs down, David Arquette.
Womp, womp,
Get
womp.
out of here. And they still call him when he showed up to do like the special guest host thing on Raw. They announce him, and it's a former WCW World Heavyweight Champion. And then drunk David Arquette comes stumbling out. So, crazy.
He was hammered?
I think he's always hammered.
Nice.
He broke up with, you know, the lady left him, Courtney Cox.
Yeah, no, he didn't break up with her.
Right.
She
yeah.
broke up with his
And,
dumb ass.
I think life has been a little rough for Mr. Arquette. He's had a rehab stint and stuff, so good luck to him.
That's the best thing that could have ever happened to him. Courtney Cox is so fine. Yeah. Ben Simon, what's your We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Trust me, that's pretty fucking high on my list. Number 2, Ben Simon.
Just a reminder, by the way, we still have Darren Corbin coming up on the show.
Right
we're
after
talking
we're done
about
with
St. Louis
this.
Anarchy. Yeah, absolutely. As far as my number 2, biggest atrocity in pro wrestling history, the WWF takeovers of 1984. 1984, tumultuous time as videotape enabled Vince McMahon. Hey, this is almost my lifetime. This is in your lifetimes, isn't it?
For sure.
Okay, so 1984, videotape. The advent of cable allows Vince McMahon to take out the old guard. I'm talking about the NWA, and he started with St. Louis and Atlanta. Let's go to Atlanta first. WTBS. For many, many years, World Championship Wrestling, and before that, Georgia Championship Wrestling, aired on WTBS, the Superstation, the original Superstation. And it was 84 when the shares of the original Georgia Championship Wrestling were sold to Vince McMahon, along with the time slot. And Vince McMahon came on, he took the microphone from Bob Caudle in a very historic Saturday edition of Georgia Championship Wrestling, and he said, well, here we are, we're the WWF, and take a look at what we have to offer. And they showed some taped matches from Madison Square Garden, and it wasn't what the traditionally Southern fans had wanted, and they revolted. They called WTBS. They're like, this is bullshit. We don't like this. We want our wrestling back. And the world was not ready for the WWF at that time. Vince had to back off. He had to take a step back to take 2 steps forward, and that's exactly what he did. He then sold the shares to Jim Crockett Promotion, and Jim Crockett made his TV base, his territory, that much bigger in his eventual attempt to go national. And then he went head-to-head with Vince McMahon, or at least tried to. But Vince ran out of the Southern territory. But as far as the atrocity go, it's him taking over that TV slot for a very short time. Now, the other half of this equation is the WWF tapings at the Chase, a little bit of forgotten history. At the end of 1983, KPLR was seduced by the WWF and Vince McMahon, and they said, well, you know, the St. Louis Wrestling Club is kind of in the shitter. Sam Muchnick has retired. Harley Race, Bob Geigel, those guys really just care about Kansas City. St. Louis Wrestling was going down the tubes fast. The quality of the product had diminished. Even Larry Matuszak had broken off and formed his own rival organization to take down the St. Louis Wrestling Club. It was like, kill the beast, kill it. So KPLR brought in Vince McMahon after he seduced him with his sexy, national wrestling type of lingo, and the WWF started taping at the Chase, the KPLR studio, in 1984. It only lasted for 4 months because it sucked, and in fact, Killer Keith Smith was quoted recently as saying it was the shits. So, if he says it, we can believe it.
Quoted.
Number 2 on my list, biggest atrocities in wrestling history, the 1984 takeovers from Vince McMahon.
And, just a side note to what you were saying a second ago, you mentioned Georgia Championship Wrestling. That's the only footage that WWE will never get. That Ole Anderson says he destroyed all that footage, and so his theory is that let the memory live on when people rewatch things. It's it's not as cool as when you see it the first time. So while WWE is gobbling up all of the wrestling footage that there is, Georgia Championship Wrestling, at least a good chunk of it will never be seen ever again. So thank Ole Anderson for that one.
I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of people have good memories of Georgia Championship Wrestling, and that was good stuff. That was what started the original Saturday night time slot on TBS, wasn't it?
Yeah, that goes all the way back to 1971, I do believe.
Yeah.
I mean, when it finally ended, it was nothing but WCW Saturday Night in 2000, but it's still a 29-year run.
Absolutely.
It's the longest-running show in wrestling history, actually. Wrestling at the Chase comes in at number 4 is the longest-running show in wrestling history.
Very cool.
Yeah. And Raw is number 5, I believe. So,
Really?
A little bit of history right there.
Number 2 on my list, Katie Vick. We already talked about it. I'm really going to, I guess my list was more things that I witnessed firsthand. Things that...
You were there in the funeral home.
Well, I was. I felt like I was through the window known as television. But,
sloppy seconds on Katie Vick.
yeah. I then fucked her eardrums out.
Whoa.
No. That was a grave mistake. Yeah. I really buried myself with that one. But yeah, Katie Vick, no good. Number 2, my biggest atrocities that I witnessed. You're going wrestling history. Wrestling history that I have witnessed.
That's why
with my eyes.
Ringsiders is a fantastic thing, because you get all sorts of perspectives.
That's right. Ben Simon will tell you he's like a history book.
King of Trios.
That's right.
Right here. My number 2 is basically wrestling after 2001. Specifically, I guess, the way WWE kind of treated things. ECW and WCW both fell all within, a couple of months of each other.
Coincidence?
1 month.
I think not.
1 month.
1 month they were both gone.
Neither one of those products were really very good at the end, but just the fact that number 2 and number 3 both are no longer exist, and now Vince is on top of the world. Nothing was pressuring them, so they just got lazy. And I guess what kind of ties into this was Triple H kind of in that era too. Their choice to push him as their guy over so many other people that could have happened. It's just
right.
The reason I think they were in so much trouble and had no stars, but besides Triple H, Randy Orton, and John Cena for so long, is specifically due to that period. All of the wrestlers that they got from WCW and ECW were all kind of on the downswing. They kept a few of the good ones, but they didn't spend any time getting new people. Nothing good came out of developmental except for Orton, Cena, Brock Lesnar, and maybe Batista. I mean, those were the only stars they really made there for a good several year period. So that was bad business and not great. So just
Yep, much agreed. Well, we're about ready for number 1, and before we get to number 1, I had a couple honorable mentions. You care?
I
if
like
I do?
it. Let's
okay.
hear it.
The No Limit Soldiers joining WCW.
Hooty hoo.
That's right. Let's just go on a bunch of WCW and horrible additions to wrestling. ICP to wrestling. Bad in every promotion, even their own. Johnny Fairplay, horrible. WWE's non-mention of other promotions, during commentary and during,
Unless you're JBL.
Unless you're JBL. Not letting Stone Cold get his way when he left because they wanted him to lose to Brock Lesnar on Raw. I mean, he left for good that night because they wouldn't give him his way. So, biggest atrocities in wrestling, those are some honorable mentions from me.
Interesting. I like it.
Interesting note. I mean, Steve Austin did come back eventually, so it wasn't for good. But yes, it was very final how he did it.
It wasn't, how often did he wrestle after that?
Very sporadically. I mean, he had he had one more run, and then he had WrestleMania 19, and that was it. So he took his ball and he went home.
That's
Jim
right.
Ross said on that confidential episode. Okay, guys, are you ready?
Yes, for numero uno.
My number one biggest atrocity in wrestling history is 60 years in the making.
History.
It is something that was relevant 60 years ago, and it is something that is still relevant to this day.
History.
Maybe even more so. It is not one specific time. It is the sanctioning of professional wrestling by athletic commissions nationwide. In the 1950s,
Good answer.
Going back as far as that.
Can I change mine?
Okay, let's say 1930s. The Ring magazine covered pro wrestling and boxing. And then it stopped covering pro wrestling. It dropped it from the publication, and it became only boxing. It says, we have witnessed the end of honest-to-goodness pro wrestling. Many promoters will testify that legitimate pro wrestling had ended in 1909 or somewhere around there. But in the 1950s, it was generally accepted. Anyone in the know, if you asked them straight to their face, they'd tell you it wasn't on the level. However, the California State Athletic Commission said otherwise, that sure, there may be some matches that were exhibitions, but we need to sanction pro wrestling to make sure that it is on the level, to make sure everything's on the up and up. In this great sport, we need to make sure that no one is wrestling in mud or anything, horrible like that. What they were really saying was, we want your money. In 1950s, wrestling was big business. We're talking 30,000 people in a stadium if you could fit them. Yankee Stadium held pro wrestling matches. The Keel was holding pro wrestling matches. Olympic Auditorium in California, pro wrestling matches selling out like crazy. We had Hollywood wrestling. We had St. Louis wrestling. We had all the territories. Pro wrestling was big business. Now, whenever the promoters came out, the promoters back then, they said, hey, pro wrestling is a show. Why are you making us pay sanctioning fees? Why do we need pro wrestlers' licenses? Why do we need promoters' licenses? Why do we need to pay you to put on this event, which is nothing more than an athletic stage show? And the commissions turned a blind eye. And believe it or not, to this day, commissions turn a blind eye. Here in Missouri, locally, it is the worst thing holding back St. Louis wrestling. People do not want to buy licenses because we are not on the national level anymore. We are on the independent level. It is tougher to make money. You cannot organize like you did just 30 years ago. And because of that, it's not worth buying a license to work in Missouri if you're a pro wrestler. It's not worth getting the blood work done to be a pro wrestler in Missouri. And there are other states as well. I just use Missouri because we are local here in Missouri, St. Louis, and also because Missouri is one of the more stringent athletic commissions. It is preposterous to think that the Missouri Office of Athletics, the California State Athletic Commission, and many others are still pulling this crap and sanctioning pro wrestling, collecting fees. That's the only reason why they still haven't cut it from the docket of collections. They sanction MMA, they'll sanction boxing and kickboxing and anything else. If you want to do a chess boxing event, they'll sanction it. They will make you pay. Pro wrestling does not need to be sanctioned. And if you ask anybody, I mean, in the 50s, there was a promoter in California who took his entire roster in. He had been cited for holding an unsanctioned event. Without their permission, he didn't pay them. He brought the wrestlers in and said, hey, all the matches were fixed. The promoter said that, and this was the 50s. For 60 years, they have turned a blind eye. And because of that, I say it is wrestling's biggest atrocity in history, and it is still going to this day. My number one, the athletic commissions.
Mine's David Arquette. Drew, what's yours?
Testify.
I can't follow that. I'm just going to bow out. David Arquette. Sorry. I totally got the wrong essence of this whole thing, and it was my idea. I can't even share the intensity right there. I will bow out and take the defeat. David Arquette. There you go.
I feel like we should just end it.
Right, like you can't get better than that.
I can't.
Sorry, guys.
Mine's obvious. Mine's obvious, and it's a bummer. It's Chris Benoit.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
and we didn't even bring that up.
That's a very good one, though.
You know, I lived through the Owen Hart stuff and the Eddie Guerrero stuff, and just recently. I mean, in this recent era, that sucked and that hurt wrestling.
I tried not to get morbid with it.
just that really hurt. That put a black eye on the business, and even hardcore fans, because it's the really hardcore fans were the ones that liked him, and now it's just like, ooh, that was a kind of a punch to the gut there, and it's bad business that I don't know that wrestling has ever totally recovered from. Like, I don't know, that still lingers a bit, and it's bad business. But the end.
One of the biggest atrocities in wrestling. No Limit Soldiers, make them say, A little flashback in the 90s for you guys.
I'm the colonel of the golden platinum tank. Y'all have the big things, we have the big banks. Third world hustlers, soldiers in combat. My timers and dealers and wheelers with true cat. Never gave a damn about no bras or no winches. And food comes short. I'm digging.
Guys, come on, guys. Guys, come on. Hey, this is exactly what SmackDown wants, right? The only way we could possibly lose is if we waste time arguing and fighting with each other, okay? We've got to come together and get on the same page, because if we don't, it's going to be bad news for all of us, all right? I mean, any questions?
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I got a question. Matter of fact, I got a problem. Aren't you supposed to be Jamaican? What happened to your accent? Are you Jamaican? You know what? Wait. Kobe's right. I'm telling I better get because the worst of their ass. I heard you making worried that this would have loot. They intimidated by the round that a tank shoot. Tank dogs salute. Every robbery store, if they know, everything they know. Need more money, more field fiends. They want the greens, the cornbread and the cabbage. In your hood, reminding you of who the baddest. Yep, the maddest. So the crime don't stick on my when it's fight. It ended with 9, get 'em. Make 'em say, guaranteed to get them rowdy and move the crowd. I stay on like money because I like hit nothing but tight women. Call me, I might bitch. I make them say, nah. Don't trip.
Hey, guys, come on, guys. Guys, come on. Hey, this is exactly what SmackDown wants, right? The only way we could possibly lose is if we waste time arguing and fighting with each other, okay? We've got to come together and get on the same page, because if we don't, it's going to be bad news for all of us. All right? I mean, any questions?
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I got a question. Matter of fact, I got a problem. Aren't you supposed to be Jamaican? What happened to your accent? Are you Jamaican? What? You know what? Wait. Kobe's right. Stretch it out like elastic. Dip that ass up in plastic. Have your folks picking caskets and drastic. Our tactics is homegrown in the ghetto. Don't feel the wrath of this sister. It's like in fighting 10 killers. Forget the baby voice. It's the biggest mama mia. The unladylike diva. Lyrical old man eater. Believer or seer. And get that embarrassed. Guaranteed you get carried away. So stay in your place when you hear mama speaking. And spray clear the way when you see the tank creeping. More time. That's who's standing here today. The world heavyweight champion. Only one. You're looking. Oh, girls, I can't stand it. Now I gotta talk. We all gotta be quiet. Nikita Koloff, we've only just begun. That's the end of it. Dusty Rhodes, don't ever make the mistake of sticking your nose in my business. If I'm down and out, I'll get up and take care of myself. So Dusty Rhodes, remember, when you walk out here, talking Ric Flair, don't think you can walk in that ring and give me a hand or try to help me out.
and ease the tension in our relationship. Philadelphia, woo, I'm gonna tear you down. Cause it's gonna fly. When I get to town. Yes! 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 Yes!
We are back on Ringsiders.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ringsiders, PartyAnimalRadio.com. Ben Simon, Mikey G, the Ringmaster, and Drew Ab, Granite City, Illinois. Guys, there's a tournament going on. One thing I love about Anarchy, they will lay the card out in front of you and be like, here's what you're getting, and we hope you enjoy it.
And no injuries plaguing them like UFC. Just saying.
That's right.
Wrestling, like, doesn't have that problem. Doesn't really have that problem. You're not going to, like, lose a pay-per-view because one of your main event guys isn't there. There's so much more supporting it. That's why I like wrestling better than UFC. Just me personally.
That's where I think UFC wants to get, but it was just it's getting tricky. Like you've talked about before, it's some of they might be spreading it a little too thin now. They're too busy trying to spread all their talent between pay-per-views, Fox shows on FX. They run shows on Fuel. And if all of this was just, towards a couple of, like, a pay-per-view and one TV show, then it wouldn't be such a big deal.
What's the difference between a pay-per-view and, and a regular card? Not a whole lot these days.
That's a good question. You get more fights, and if they end quickly, you get to see them on, a lot of the earlier ones, too. But
I think there is a correlation. You do get the bigger fights on pay-per-view. I mean, with the
Totally.
I mean, you might get a top 10 or in a
some of the shitty pay-per-views. Okay, some of the shitty pay-per-views, like what Anderson Silva's fighting
Stephen
Bonner. That one. Okay, what's the difference between that and like the FX card or the Fox card?
You gotta understand. I mean, first you do have one of the best fighters in the world, the middleweight champion, fighting on that card.
Yeah, but it's a joke. Like that's I'd rather watch him fight his sparring partner.
When you have a pay-per-view deal as a promoter, you have that pay-per-view deal. It's not like, it's not that the card's not that big anymore. We had to cancel a fight, so I guess we'll put it on FX. It doesn't work like that. You have your deals with networks. You have your deals with providers. It was a pay-per-view, so it's going to stay a pay-per-view. If Silva versus Bonner was called off as well, hopefully it isn't, knock on wood, and then we had to move something else up, and the card would suck even more, it'd probably still be a pay-per-view. It'd just be a really low-selling pay-per-view and probably a failure. But you can't just take stuff off pay-per-view, because it's not that good anymore,
No, I hear you. I agree with that. I'm just saying, what's the difference?
Well, not much anymore, but it wasn't supposed to be like that.
No, I know. It wasn't supposed to be like that, but it is.
This is their next card on Fox, which is coming December the 8th. But you've got your top 3 fights on there are up-and-comer Rory McDonald against BJ Penn. BJ Penn coming out of retirement, kind of retirement,
right?
To come back on Fox. Shogun Hua versus Alexander Gustafsson, which could be a pay-per-view main event or co-main event any day. And that the main event is going to be the lightweight title being defended by Ben Henderson against Nate Diaz.
That's on free TV.
All free television.
Same card.
Yep. And you've got the prelims. They are the prelims on Fuel TV as well. So if you want, you've got about 5 hours of MMA that night for free. When a lot of these fights, if they were focusing it on what the fans actually had to pay for. I don't know. It's tricky. They're still working out this Fox deal. This is the first year of 7 years they got this Fox deal, so they're still hammering it out. It's growing pains,
And
but they're in this for the long haul, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm excited for, guys, and unfortunately we can't talk much about it because of the nature of how we're recording the show this week. But if you're listening to this on Sunday, then Vitor Belfort may be the new light heavyweight champion of the world, and we do have the first ever flyweight world champion barring a draw. So that is really exciting in the UFC. If we're going to talk, bad, we got to put the good in there too.
Joe Benavidez defeated Demetrius Johnson and won the flyweight championship.
Okay.
He's the first flyweight champ ever.
Oh, you're okay. Well, you might be
It's
180 wrong on that one, buddy.
It's not happening.
All right, but guys, I don't know if you realize this, but we were talking about anarchy. And we just completely sidetracked into the UFC.
We sure did.
So maybe we should go over this card a little bit. Since we are involved now, we will be doing a live broadcast. Yeah, indeed. It's right here. St. Louis Anarchy. I believe SLAWrestling.com is their website if you want to check it out. Now, like with all Anarchy cards, they really put an effort together to really let you know what the card is beforehand. That's one thing we really like about St. Louis Anarchy, and we hope to extend our relationship with them beyond this next Saturday. Granite City, Illinois, the River's Edge. It is the Gold Edition. That's the name of the card for St. Louis Anarchy. We'll be broadcasting it live on Saturday night right here on PartyAnimalRadio.com.
On the party feed, which is awesome.
Exactly. So you're going to mute the regular feed and then click on the party feed, and then you'll get us. Now, the party feed is our separate stream for all live events when we're out on the road, and so we can have two Party Animal radios, so to speak. Now, the thing that's cool about this Gold Edition is I think this might be the first St. Louis Anarchy tournament ever.
That's what they said.
That's what they said. Now, there's going to be 12 competitors in this tournament. I know what you're thinking. It's not a mathematical power of 2, so how are we doing this? Well, we're going to have 6... I hate you guys sometimes. All right. But in the there's going to be 2 rounds. This is a 2-round tournament. There's going to be 6 first-round matches in the medallion tournament, where the winner of this entire thing gets a medallion. This medallion, I think they used this in the old LWA, the Lethal Wrestling Alliance, the precursor. The winner of the medallion gets a title shot for any title in the land of anarchy. That's here or Texas for the next year. They do have to declare it beforehand, so no money in the bank garbage where you just run in and cash it in. But these 12 competitors meet in the first round, one-on-one, and the 6 people who advance will compete in an elimination main event 6-way match. The winner will get the medallion. Now, here are the competitors. Here's the first round matchups, all right? You ready for this, Drew?
I'm ready.
Eric Cannon versus Evan Jalistico. You have a pick right here?
No.
No? Submission squad, I think Evan Jalistico is going to take this. You know, they had some tough times recently with that breakdown on the side of the road for King of Trios.
That's terrible.
Oh.
I'm horrible at predictions, so I don't really want to play in the tournament predictions.
All right. Well,
I'm horrible. I have no idea.
ACH versus Shane Hollister. Also another first-round match. I don't know much about Hollister, but ACH recently just competed on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view in a match that no one saw, unless you were at the venue because of feed problems against Kyle O'Reilly. But ACH versus Shane Hollister, I'll pick the Last Dragon in this one. Davey Richards, the American Wolf, against Bolt Brady. He comes out to the Brady Bunch music, and he's electrifying.
He's electrifying.
He's going to have his hands full with Davey Richards in this third first-round match. Kyle O'Reilly from Ring of Honor will be taking on Christian Rose, another big competition. Kyle O'Reilly has been on the national scene on TV, and so people are going to come out to see him for sure. Jeremy Wyatt, a local favorite, out of Kansas City, going up against Billy McNeil, the wild and crazy man who's been on our show before. And I look forward to that one. All these matches, I mean, this is a great card we have here for St. Louis Anarchy.
Yeah, and that's just the first round.
Indeed. And we have one more match. Match number 6 is Gerald James, formerly known as Gary J. They'll be going up against Rachel Summerlin. And don't you dare say it's an intergender match to Rachel Summerlin, because she'll bite your head off. I know that firsthand.
Interesting.
She competes with the men, and she hasn't won any special asterisks next to it. She will treat herself as a competitor and not necessarily a woman. Commendable. For the ACW televised championship, a title out of the ACW parent company in Texas, Jojo Bravo versus the champion, Davey Vega, another Ringsiders veteran. Yeah. We've had him on the show.
Spitfire.
Yep, and Vega is another member of the not the Spirit Squad, the Submission Squad. I almost said the Spirit Squad. God help me. All right. Darren Childs and Chris Wolf versus the Hooligans. versus Mojo Bravado versus Jordan Lacey and a mystery opponent. I'm sorry, mystery partner. That's a 4-way tag team match.
Are you the mystery partner?
I'm not going to say anything.
Uh-oh.
And then your main event for the St. Louis Anarchy Heavyweight Championship, the champion, the Danimal, Dan Walsh, one of our guys, against Darren Corbin, who will be one of our guys and has been after our interview with him. So Darren Corbin, of course, he got completely pantsed a couple of events ago. People saw his penis at an event, and he's looking to recover from that.
That sucks. I'm glad I missed that.
There's your tale of the tape.
Who do you think's going to win the tournament overall?
Oh man, it's
That's
such
a good
tough
one.
pick because we got Richards, we got O'Reilly, we got ACH, Jeremy Wyatt in there. You know, Jeremy Wyatt just challenged for the NWA Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Jeremy Wyatt to win this whole thing.
That's who I was thinking.
Yeah.
For my first pick. My second pick will probably be Eric Cannon. I'm a big fan of that.
I mean,
guy,
people,
and he's good.
You might naturally gravitate toward Davey Richards or Kyle O'Reilly, but these guys don't care about like the little local shows. You know, like they wrestle for PWE up in like Central Illinois, and you know they don't care to win. They want to get their payday and they want to go, as we've seen. You know, Team Bandit. If they're wrestling on TV, they're coming out to win. If they're
I've never heard that before. Team Bandit.
Yeah, you don't know about that?
No, I mean I know of all
They said
the stuff,
Team
but-
Ambition is dead. Now we're Team Bandit.
Did they say that?
They said that. They made a YouTube video.
That's not nice, is it? I'm not
Team
a fan
Bandit,
of that.
That's
really.
what you call them now.
Well, embrace the hate, I suppose.
So that's St. Louis Anarchy. It's coming to you next weekend.
That's
We're going to
gonna
have 2 Ringsiders in one weekend.
That's
Saturday.
gonna be awesome.
Indeed, it will be. You know, it will be ringside covering the action. You know, if you want more updates as they unfold, like us on Facebook if you haven't already, and sure, stay tuned to the website because that's where the news will be.
That's where the news will be. And follow me on Twitter. That's Ringsiders Drew on Twitter. Simple enough. You can follow Ben too. He has one, but it's just for show, I think. I don't know what's up with that. But we'll keep you up to date with what's going on and what's happening.
Indeed. Now, also, if you're listening to this on Sunday, we hope you came out to the St. Louis King of Cable tournament last night. If you're listening to this on Friday morning, we want you to come out to the King of Cable tournament tomorrow in Lime at the Knights of Columbus. It's a one-night single elimination tournament, 8 men. One man will get a title shot in the next 12 months. It's kind of a theme coming up here, don't you think? But it should be a really good time. You can see guys like Ken Casa, Dave Osborne, Ricky Cruz, Gary Jackson, guys we've had on our show before, as well as guys like Brian James, Max Archer, Dave Vaughn, and our favorite Jimmy D.
It is going to be great. It's going to be a good time. Good barbecue. There's going to be a band. You can spin a wheel, I'm told.
Yeah, there's going to be a penny on a platform game. That's a direct quote.
I'm not positive what that is.
Me neither.
Oh. Well, let's find out. Find out with us.
I think there's just going to be a platform with a penny on it. Yeah, it starts at 3 p.m. Saturday the 22nd. And, I mean...
The wrestling starts at 7 o'clock for people that only care about the wrestling part.
Yeah, the 3 p.m. should be fun if you want to
You can come out and hang out with probably Ben.
See what's going on.
And that's all.
And the band.
And
also, Jimmy D has now recovered from his train run-in. You know, with the run, he got his legs run over with the train, and he would be wrestling.
That is a true miracle.
All right. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left in the show. You know, did you see any of the Ring of Honor pay-per-view last weekend?
No, sir.
Man, what's the future for Ring of Honor?
Selling their footage to WWE.
Oh, that's harsh.
No, man, I can't be any more disappointed with Ring of Honor. I was so excited when they were getting their new TV show, and there's another weekly TV show. Jim Cornette's in charge. Our buddy Hunter taking care of business up there, and you had a lot of high hopes, but I think it's just a roster issue, at least from my eyes. I think it's a roster problem. It's not that the storylines probably are bad. Do they have storylines, really, other than Kevin Steen and is a jerk?
Yeah. I mean, they have 1 hour of TV a week, and they have to record it all in a month, so it requires a lot of foresight. Their TV product is commendable. Their promos aren't that good, but I like their TV show, and their live pay-per-view streams are not good. I don't know that they are put on exclusively by Sinclair Broadcast Group, because I can't imagine that SBG would be that bad. But I mean, this is really bad. So they had to stop the stream on Saturday for Death Before Dishonor 10 because it wasn't going out at all. No one was getting the first half of the show. So they stopped it, which cut the feed, which cut the files in half. So they aired the second half. They had one file, and they said, well, we have this one file. We need to render it together. People could not legally see the first half of Death Before Dishonor 10 until 3 days after the event aired live. That was Tuesday.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, that's not good.
That is unfortunate. If I didn't have Z-Man Heat for Ring of Honor, that would be an issue. But I do.
Are we doing Good Heat, X-Pac Heat?
Not this second. We're just talking about Ring of Honor.
Oh,
and
cool.
How they kind of suck right now.
Well, we've only got 8 minutes left in the show, so I think we might have to skip it this week.
That's fair enough. We've covered most of the news topics and anything that was going on. So let me take just a second to give a shout-out to some friends of ours, and that's Brian Kelly and Dubray Tallman. That is MissouriWrestlingRevival.com. They got all sorts of news and results and all sorts of awesome stuff that has anything to do with indie wrestling in a 5 or 6 state area in the Midwest. So you need to look at it, and you need to click on their store link up there and buy the yearbook, which has all sorts of interesting things about from the wrestling scene around here and trading cards for all of your favorite indie wrestlers. So
it also has the best feature I've ever read on Gary Jackson, which I may have penned.
The yearbook, yeah.
It's actually pretty great.
Fantastic. Little self plug there.
Indeed.
Self high five.
Brian Kelly's actually looking for new ideas for 2012's yearbook.
Yes. So if you're involved in an indie promotion, send in stories. They do biographies, little bios of guys in the back. If you want results from your show shown on stuff, just go to MissouriWrestlingRevival.com and check it out.
The NWA continues to be in severe pain as your enemy and my kind of friend, maybe from a distance, crime fighter.
He's not your friend.
As far as getting information out, sometimes he breaks stuff, and he's breaking this right now. Mach 1 of California, NWA Mach 1, has resigned from the National Wrestling Alliance. They were not on the level at all of NWA Hollywood, so it's not that big of a deal. But just another one dropping out.
I don't know any of the specific promotions, but I read a few days ago that there's a good chunk of NWA promotions that have dropped off the list now.
And they've signed
throughout the country.
Yeah, and they've signed one or two up. But the thing is, this Bruce Tharp guy, the guy who's running the NWA right now, he is doing this old school, and it's rubbing people the wrong way. He is making rules. I don't know if we read the rules. It's like referees can't wear jeans. Referees have to wear dress pants or black jeans, I guess. They have to have the official NWA referee shirt for consistency. No more shows at fairs or like outdoor
festivals. So he has
standards. He has standards, but the thing is, he's not dealing with businessmen. He's dealing with like little carnies who aren't making money.
The NWA, it's trying to be the leader of that. It's trying to be like a ringleader of just children with, I don't know.
So what Bruce Tharp is trying to do, he's trying to cut the fat. He's trying to cut the guys who are just hanging on, doing the name. He's making things more stringent, and he's hoping that more real promoters will step up and join him. I think that part of it is commendable.
Sure. Real promoters like to make money.
Yep, and he is cutting the people aside that aren't making money. Or going to make it look bush league.
How many wrestling promotions out there are making money on a consistent basis?
Not a lot. I mean, NWA Hollywood perhaps had the illusion, if they weren't making money, that they were making money. And maybe
anything that's good has a short shelf life because WWE will take whatever is good out of it. Because all the wrestlers there want to go to WWE. Why would they stick around? They're all looking for a platform. So they're, it's just such a high separate. In a time of election that we are in right now, where everybody's talking about the 1%ers and the 99%ers, how the gap is growing wider and wider. It's way worse than that in pro wrestling. Like the gap between WWE and everybody else. I mean, they're almost recreating the territory system with, as extensive as their developmental program is these days. With the advancement of NXT, Superstars, Full Sail University, FCW. I mean, all the...
Well, three of those things you said are one and the same. They're all in Florida, but it's all the same thing. Yeah, FCW is NXT now.
They've been hyping up. I don't have any specifics on it, but they've been hyping that they have more big news to come in the future about plans that they've got for their developmental system. So
they should go regional with it.
Absolutely correct. I mean, imagine a world where, let's say, you could put Dusty Rhodes in Texas and give him some money and say, book how you want. Let's try some stuff in Texas. Try to do your thing. Let JR do his thing in Oklahoma.
No, I think that would be the same territory, but yeah.
Well, you got to remember, Booker T has an unofficial territory. It's called Reality of Wrestling. Now it used to be the Pro Wrestling Alliance, but based out of Houston. And he has a nice little set there. I mean, he's almost to how FCW used to be in terms of production on YouTube. And, it's a nice little thing. If you can't go to FCW, go to Booker T.
There you go. But I'd love to see a developmental system put in place, and who knows, maybe they got something like that going. Imagine just if a kid's in Florida and he's not progressing or learning anything or doing anything, say, all right, let's try to switch stuff up. Send him out to Texas for a little while, change the scenery. You never know. Something as simple as that might totally change.
That should be a big topic of ours, the developmental territories on the next show. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
We should do another list, too. I like them lists. Well, here, before we get out of here, one last tidbit of information. Actually, it's something for Ben Simon. Ben, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Our media manager for the station, T-Hat, Travis Hatfield, has issued a challenge to you, Mr. Ben Simon.
I heard he was going to do that.
The gauntlet is thrown down.
Well, this challenge, after hearing your incredible rendition of Alan Jackson's "When the Day Wherever
Where Were
You
You
Were,"
When the World Stopped Turning.
Right.
Yeah.
He wants to challenge you to a one-on-one mano-a-mano karaoke competition. Do you know what karaoke is? Basically, we give you guys categories, okay? And we randomly pick karaoke songs, and you got to do them. Like, you're gonna get to pick a category, which is yours is probably gonna be patriotic 9/11 songs by Alan Jackson.
Okay.
He's gonna pick a category, and you guys got to each sing from your own category and from your, the other one. And then there's a tiebreaker that we, the panel, pick for you.
Jesus.
Will you accept that challenge, Grandmaster?
Are you going to be getting the songs in my category, or do I have to track them down?
Also,
don't worry.
Keep in mind, we have received official word. If you do not accept, you lose 200 points off of your ELO rating.
Right.
It's official.
It's official.
You'll have to take that one up with the United States
No,
Chess Federation.
I'm not.
2,000 points,
I'm taking it up with you. Deal with it.
2,000 points.
I can't lose 2,000 points. I don't have 2,000 points.
Hey,
So,
you do.
All right. I accept.
You're losing them.
Bring it, T-Hat.
Yes.
All right. Woo.
Am I on the panel?
Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
Hello.
Are we doing this during late night or Ringsiders?
It's a combined... Maybe it'll be a special edition show. Web only.
Interesting.
Yeah. The combined efforts of Ringsiders and the Mr. Late Night Show come together.
Special live broadcast from somewhere awesome.
Yeah, here in the studio.
That's fair.
No, I don't know. But yeah, I got one more mashup before we get out of here. We got some shout-outs. Follow me on Twitter at MikeyG_TeamPar. My goal this weekend while in Tampa is to add 100 followers on my Twitter account. So I'm going for it. That's all. That's my only goal while in Tampa this weekend. So follow me on Twitter at MikeyG_TeamPar.
And guys, don't forget, next Saturday night, before our next official Ringsiders, we'll be having Ringsiders on the Road, a special live broadcast from Granite City, Illinois, St. Louis Anarchy from the River's Edge. If you can't be there, tune in. We're doing it live. I'll be on ring announcing. You guys commentary. I'll join you. We're going to have a hell of a time.
I can't wait.
And don't forget,
be amazing.
Bring your own beer.
I will.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, we will catch you guys on the flip side. Anything else before we get out of here?
That's it.
Anything from you, Daniel Bryan? Yes! What do you got to say? Yes! Oh, he's whispering in my ear. He says he's got an incredible mashup of Coco Beware and Shawn Michaels.
What the hell?
Right. Right here on the #1 underground radio station on the planet. It's PartyAnimalRadio.com.
us what to do? Yeah. You think you could tell us what to win? Think you better? Yeah. Well, you better get ready to bow to the master.